Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Alex, and on behalf of Copper State Credit Union, we are so happy to have you for this easy and empowered budgeting virtual event. Welcome to all. Some items to review before we get started. So that everyone can plan accordingly, just an FYI that our session is scheduled to last for about 1 hour. Now, please take a moment to find your Zoom toolbar, likely at the bottom of your screen. We want you to be able to participate as much as possible during our session today, so we want everyone to be aware of the features available to you. First, Q&A. Please type your questions for the speaker here. The speaker will address as many of the on-topic questions as possible during our time. You may also receive a typed response from one of our team members. Second, if we need to send you any links during the session, you'll find these in chat. Now, the last thing I want to show you before I turn it over to Christina is the polling feature. You should see a fun fall-themed poll popping up here momentarily. If you could please respond so that we know a little bit more about our audience today. Thank you. Now, I'm excited to introduce our speaker, Christina Credit. She's joining us today from our Member Education Center. Christina has been with the credit union for 3.5 years in various positions and is happy to be reporting for duty now as Financial Wellness Program Manager. Some fun facts about her. Christina has lived in the Phoenix area for 9 years since moving from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She has 2 young daughters and 2 dogs at home. She loves camping and gardening with her husband and family. Christina, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining us in our virtual event today. I am so happy to have all of you here with us, and I can't possibly be more excited to talk to you about budgeting. It is one of my favorite topics, and I will warn you, budgeting can be a little bit of a habit-forming behavior. Once you get started, you learn about where your money is going, how you can make it work for you, it's hard to quit. So, before we get started, I do want to make sure that you all know a little bit about our credit union. We are a local Arizona credit union, and we're open for membership to those who live, work, or worship in 6 of our Arizona counties. We have 8 branch locations currently and over 38,000 members. We have over $500 million in assets, and really what we care about here at Copper State Credit Union are values. We care a lot about our families, our member families, and empowering you to discover how you can succeed financially. So we care a lot about our families. We care a lot about empowerment, discovery, and excitement. Those are the values that we hold here at Copper State. Alrighty, and you know, all jokes aside, I do want to do one more poll, and this is anonymous, just to see how everyone is feeling about budgeting currently. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. You should see that popping up here. Go ahead and vote, please. And let us know, coming into today's session, share anonymously your confidence level regarding budgeting. And I'm going to leave that open for about 30 seconds. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you taking those polls. And now we are going to jump in to really the topic at hand. We talked about having easy and empowered budgeting in 4 simple steps. And no matter what your answers to those poll questions were, know this: budgeting can be for everyone. We really want to get you empowered today to take control of your financial future with these 4 main steps. First, we're going to talk about visualizing our financial goals. Then we'll move on and assess the money coming in. Third, we'll capture the money that's going out. And finally, we will give every dollar a job. So, first step, as I mentioned, we are visualizing our financial future. Now, I want to start today with a visualization, kind of like a goal setting activity, just a little bit. But before half of you sign off and say, like, that's not for me, I want you to hear me out. Our team member is going, Alex, who you heard from earlier, she's going to send over a link in the chat in case you are a data person, because the link will take you to more information about this study that I'm about to share with you. There was a study done that put participants into 2 groups. There was a group that simply their assignment was to visualize doing some hand exercises. So, you know, something simple like this. That was their assignment. Just visualize yourself doing that exercise. The second group was assigned to actually do the exercise. And what they found is that visualization is so powerful that the first group ended up with between 13 and 35% improvement in their physical muscle strength just by thinking about doing the exercises. The other group had 53% improvement. So of course, if you're doing the physical exercises, hopefully you are seeing those improvements as well. But to know that visualization was that powerful, that kind of proves that it's worth looking into, and it's worth talking about, especially when we're about to go into all this information about budgeting. You're only going to apply it if you care about how it's going to affect your own life. So that brings me to a couple questions. Visualize, what kind of lifestyle do you want to be leading? And are you living it right now? Congratulations if you are, by the way. What do you want for yourself and your money? And how would you feel if that reality happened immediately? So just start to think about some of those things. And I want to warm up with a few examples. I'm going to use our polling tool again, and hopefully you guys are seeing these. So the poll question is, I want to live a lifestyle where I am able to blank, and it's asking you to pick some of those options. I want you to read through those: traveling, going on vacations, maybe living debt-free, retiring early, being able to support a family member financially if needed, saving up for a big purchase, or upgrading your living situation. Go ahead and answer that poll if you can. And just pick 1 or 2 that really resonate with you. All right. Thank you. And now I really want to get a bit more specific. So if you answered or you were thinking about, yeah, debt-free, like that sounds really good to me. I want you to imagine that you are waking up tomorrow, you are magically out of debt. What does that look like? What do you want to do with your money in that case? So it can be tempting to say, oh, I just need more money. Like all my problems would be solved if I had X amount. But I'm sure you guys have heard those stories of millionaires, the lottery winners, or people who are, famous, make a lot of money, and how they end up broke. Yeah, it's not just about needing more money all the time, every time. So with all of that in mind, I have some little bit more specific examples here. And I want you guys to try to get a little bit more specific about your own financial future. What are a couple of things that you really want to accomplish? Be specific. And I want you guys to write this down on a sticky note if you have it. You can also send it over to us in the Q&A. We won't share those or anything, but if you want to share it with us, we'd be happy to see what that financial goal you have for yourself and your financial future. And it is really important to identify these because we're going to keep coming back to this throughout the session. And as you sit down with maybe a partner, your family, to set up your spending plan and look at your budget, you want to keep these goals in mind. I know it sounds crazy, visualization as part of budgeting, but it is powerful in helping you commit to new goals. So if you want to just take a moment, it's the middle of the day, take a moment, take a deep breath, close your eyes. Think about what it would be like to be in that reality. That financial goal that you have. What does it feel like? What does it look like? All right, thanks for going through that exercise with me. I hope that some of you found it valuable. And now we are going to get into really the practical side of creating a budget. Step 2, how much money is coming in? So we did our visualization. Now it's time to talk about how much money is coming into your household in any given month. And for some of you, this is really simple. For those of you who your paycheck is off by 10 cents and somebody's going to hear about it, what's happening? What's going on? Maybe some of you know exactly how much money you make and exactly how often that comes in, and you know that monthly number. By the way, we are going to use monthly calculations for our budgeting virtual event today. There's a lot of different ways you can set up a budget, but I think if you're starting out, monthly is the easiest. So we are going to focus on monthly. How much money is coming in? The ways that you can look at this, simple examples, you can look at pay stubs. You can pull your statements, direct deposit notifications. If you're receiving benefits, Social Security, unemployment, you can look at the award letters. That's a lot of good ways to see that money coming in. And again, for those of you who have this really simple, maybe just one income for the household and you know exactly what it is, you guys are good to go. Write that final number on a sticky note and just hold tight for a minute. Maybe go grab yourself a snack or a cup of coffee or something. But for those of you who maybe have more than one source of income, multiple people in the family, or maybe you yourself have more than one source, you want to look at these and come up with one calendar month, how much money came in. And this is really important because this is the jumping off point from how we're going to create our spending plan. We have to know how much money there is to begin with. A really interesting tip, and this isn't going to apply to everybody, but you get that money in total, let's say, and you write it down. I challenge you, if this is a reality for you, and it's not for everyone, but I do challenge you to think of rounding that number down a little bit. Now, why would I say that? Let's say your household income is $5,200. Why would you round that down? Well, if you find that you are only starting with, let's round down to 5,000. If you're starting with 5,000 and you can make your budget work for 5,000, then you've got a little buffer that's going to stay in your account month over month in case something comes up and maybe you miscalculated. It's a nice way to have a little bit of extra money in there if you round down on this income side of things. But again, not for everybody. This is a very individualized practice of budgeting. So do what is best for you. Now, for those of you that don't have it as simple on the income calculation side, this is for you. I have a lot of people come to me and say, well, I don't make the same amount of money every month. Don't worry, you can still have a budget. There are a couple options for you if you have variable income, and that's what we call it. Variable kind of goes up and down a little bit. Two main options. First, you would take the lowest month of income from the past year. So that's going to be your initial option. Look at the past 12 months, pick the lowest income month you have, and use that as your total money in monthly. Your other option is to use the average that you brought in from the past 3 months or past 6 months, past 12 months, whatever is going to work best for you. So I think that this is easier to explain with an example. Teresa here is meeting with her financial counselor. She has income that's variable from month to month. So here is her last 3 months of personal income. You can see in those boxes there. And over the past year, the highest she earned monthly was $3,000. The lowest was $1,800. So if she were to go with option 1, Teresa would work with that $1,800 as her starting point for her budget, for that money in. If she wanted to do the average, I just averaged these 3 months. That's about $2,170. Now, what's nice about this is realize that you don't have to pick exactly one of those numbers, right? This is about you feeling comfortable. So it turns out Teresa was talking with her financial counselor and she decided that $2,000 a month was what she was going to work with. And, you know, she felt comfortable with that because the last 3 months were all kind of around or a little bit above that. So that's what she chose. 2 options for you there if you have variable income. Hope that helps. Another question that we get a lot regarding income calculation is, what if I am receiving Social Security, unemployment benefits? Do I include this? And the answer is yes. There are a lot of different types of income. As long as it is regular, you want to include it. So I'm kind of popping up on the slide here a few different types that different people at different stages of life may see, different types of income. And I also put a couple on here that are things that you maybe would not want to include. So if you have someone paying you back from buying dinner, or grandma gives you money for your birthday or something, those are not things that we're gonna include in income. If you win the lottery though, I'm gonna share my personal email with you so that we can talk after the session. No, I'm just kidding. These are all different types of income, and maybe you have a side job or you sell items online and it's a significant source of income. You may want to find an average over the past few months and include that in your budget, because it'll really help when we get to the next couple of steps. Last big question, what if I have income that only comes once or twice per year? So we call this periodic income, and I have a little example here. This person gets a commission or bonus or something in March and in September. So what I'm illustrating here is basically you add up your yearly amount that you're going to get. You'd add 3,000 plus 3,000. And if you divide it over the course of 12 months, it comes out to about $500 a month. And you could work that into your money in total that we're gonna work with. Now, I did highlight that January and February there because it's worth mentioning, you know, if this is John's bonus, this is John's story here that we're looking at in the table. In January and February, he doesn't technically have that money yet, right? So pretending that he does have that money coming in, it's not really there. So either John has some extra buffer funds that he has kind of sitting in there for this purpose, or you could just use the month that you get the bonus or the commission or the extra income and spread it from that month forward, if that makes sense. So that's another option for this situation where maybe you haven't quite earned that money yet. That money's not in your account yet. So those are our three biggest, most frequently asked questions on income calculation. And again, just to review, we have visualized, we know what our financial goals are. We're motivated to do this. Now we've captured our money in, whether that's pay stubs, looking at your account, direct deposits, whatever it is, you know how much money you have coming into your household. The next step is to look at money going out. So how much money is going out? Whew. This seems like a big job, but with the right tools, you can definitely do it. I have heard, I don't know if you guys have also heard this strategy, but I've heard the strategy, some people say to get a notebook and take it with you in your pocket, in your purse, carry it with you wherever you go. And every time you spend money, write it down and write down the amount. To be honest, you guys, that wouldn't work for me because every time I like sneakily drive into Salad and Go and get a cold brew and a salad, I don't want to have to write that down. And if I did have to write it down, I'd probably stop going so often, right? So instead, what we have to do is not do it in a way that makes us change our spending patterns just for a little while to make it seem better. We need to look at it realistically because the realistic, what's happening, that's what's going to help us build a spending plan and a budget that we can stick with. So instead, what you're going to do is look at the past. So pick a month in the recent past. Recent is important because you don't want to go too far back to the point where you don't remember what that was. So pick, you know, a pretty average month for the, you know, the last month or two maybe. And here's what you're going to do. You've got to get all of your papers together. And I say papers, it's probably worth printing them. We pay things out of our checking account. We pay for some things with a credit card, debit card, automatic transfer. Maybe I have another account somewhere else that I'm like, you know, hiding away because I want to forget that it's there and not spend the money. We have money moving around in this day and age, sometimes in more than one place. So what's really helpful is to find every place where you pay a bill out of or where money comes out of and get that statement for that given month. Let's just say it's July, okay? Print that transaction history. If you don't have a statement, print your transaction history from online banking. Use your check register if that's something that you still utilize on a regular basis. Print those credit card statements. Make sure you have everything, because if you don't have everything, it's not going to be realistic. You're going to be missing some items. All right. So, and just so you guys know, you can always keep putting those questions into the Q&A. I will definitely have time at the end where I will address those questions for you. So feel free to continue sending those over. Thank you. So what are you going to include in this money out total? It's going to be everything. So I suggest, and you can do this a million different ways, you guys, you know, do whatever you feel comfortable with. But something that I like to do is grab a couple of highlighters once I have all my statements. And we're going to really look at all of your money going out in 3 categories: bills, saving, and spending. So every single dollar that leaves your possession or your checking account's possession and goes into a savings. We're including savings in this. Every single dollar that moves out, we're going to put into one of these categories. And what that can look like, I'm going to give a few kind of generic categories here, and then my next slide will be some specific examples of what you might find in each of these categories. So for bills, I like to borrow from Dave Ramsey for this. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's got like a podcast and website and all that stuff. I like to borrow his concept of the 4 walls here for bills, because really these are the necessities. Number 1, and he actually puts them in order and says, number 1 is food. You've got to be fed. Food, then utilities, then shelter, then transportation. So under food, I'd probably include like your grocery pickup, you know, online ordering. If you go into the grocery store, buying food, anything like that would be considered a bill, because you have to be fed, right? You have to feed your family. So next would be utilities, power, water, trash, sewage, whatever the area you're living in, those utilities, you probably know what they are because you probably pay them every month. Those are going to be the next thing. Those also fall under the category of bills. Notice we've got our 3 here: bills, savings, spending. All of these, we're going to consider those bills. Shelter, so mortgage, rent, you know, whatever you contribute, if you have roommates, whatever you contribute to the mortgage or rent, put that under shelter. Maybe HOA fees. Last category under bills, according to Dave Ramsey's 4 walls, is going to be transportation. I add in this section other bills that are like necessary. So, you know, maybe your internet and your cell phone are a must because you're working from home right now. Maybe your cell phone's your only means of communication, don't have a landline anymore. So that might go into the bills category as well. Debt payments, if you are making payments on a student loan or you have a credit card balance you're paying off, those are going to go in here as well. So just to explain generally, that's what bills are. And then on the next slide, we'll give some examples. Saving, what is that? What is saving? Are we doing this? Actually, I read that Americans have started to save more now that we are in this COVID era. People are starting to save more. Anyway, saving is any funds that are set aside regularly for any savings purpose. So yes, this counts as money going out. I'm going to keep saying it. Think of it as paying your future self. You are throwing your future self some money and putting it aside. So anything, that there's so many different things you could be saving for: an emergency fund, retirement, a grandkid's college fund. I mean, there are so many things. Maybe you're saving up for a specific purchase. Anything set aside regularly that you don't then take back out. So it doesn't count if you transfer $100 from your checking to your savings on the 1st of the month, and then you have to take it back out on the 29th because you need it. That doesn't count. So that's our second category. Third, this one's easy: everything else. When you're starting out with a budget, this is a good way to start because you've got your bills, your must-have. You've got your savings prioritized. You know, these are things that we want to save for. And then spending is everything else that doesn't fit in the first 2. Keeps it kind of simple rather than breaking it down really, really far. Of course, you can break it down further. And we do have a budgeting bundle that's going to be going out to all of you guys after our virtual event that has a spreadsheet, and you can break it down further in that spreadsheet. So I told you I'd give you examples. Here they are. When we're talking about money going out, the bills might look something like this. And I'm not going to read every single one, but you can see under food, we've got some grocery store purchases, utilities, you know, City of Phoenix water, Payson trash, your power companies, maybe a rent check or an automatic transfer for your mortgage. All of this stuff counts under transportation. if you're making a car loan, getting gas, those are all things that your car needs. You can't run your car without gasoline. Or insurance, right? Insurance counts there. Maybe you'd use public transportation and you're going to put your bus pass in that transportation total. So in this step, what we're doing here is we are taking a highlighter, and I used blue for bills because, you know, it's a little easier to remember. We're going to take a highlighter. We're going to go through all of those statements that we pulled, and we're going to find every single thing that fits the category of bill. And I put these reminders in here: food, utilities, shelter, transportation, other bills or debt payments. And all of that, you want to find all of those and highlight them blue. I know you guys don't have all of this stuff ready right now, but just for, you know, future reference, grabbing a couple of highlighters, and I think I used blue, green, and yellow. That's a way that you can kind of tackle this and it feels manageable because it's color coded. Whew, it's a lot of information. Give you guys a second to just look through that for another minute. So next section, once you think you've found all of your bills, you've highlighted them, the next section is going to be, what are you saving? So if that's nothing, that's fine. I'm just asking you right now, all you're doing is finding your current reality. How much money is currently going out? That's what we have to find first. Then step 4 is going to be where we make some adjustments. But on the savings side of things, if you have an automatic withdrawal that you're putting into your retirement account, that counts as savings. If you monthly, you go in and you manually pull out money from your checking and put it into your savings account and it stays there, that's the key, that counts as saving. Go ahead and highlight those in green when you're going through. Maybe you pull out cash every month and you put it in an envelope and put it under your mattress. Please don't do that. It's not the safest, right? We have savings accounts. You can even set up savings goals in a Copper State savings account. It's pretty cool. If you transfer to another bank, if you have like a separate savings account somewhere else that you try to forget about so that you don't spend it, anything where you're pulling money from your regular accounts that you're using and you're putting it aside for a specific purpose and you're leaving it there, at least for a little while until it's needed. So you've gone through, you've found all your bills. You've gone through and you've found all of your savings. Spending is probably going to be almost everything else. Now, obviously not money in, but everything else that has money going out of your account, that might be going into spending. So I gave some examples here you guys can read through. But I would pick a third color. I picked yellow and go through and highlight those in yellow. So entertainment, clothing, fun stuff, games, coffee, going out to dinner, or I guess takeout for the most part now. I never thought I'd do so much takeout and delivery as I do post-COVID. All right, so this is a lot. I do have some really good news about the way that the transaction history is posting for Copper State Credit Union members. Awesome news here. You know how it can be like really, really long and complicated in your transaction history where it'll be like POS, withdrawal, point of sale, debit card, and then it's like California, concepts, Target, and like you can't even figure out what it was. So awesome news. We have an update coming to our online banking shortly here that's going to convert that gibberish, is what I think of it as, into a very simple, like couple of words description so that you know exactly what it was and it's easier for you to identify. So I am super excited about that update. That is coming soon for those of you that are with us at Copper State Credit Union. So here we are. We've looked through all of our statements. we've figured out, okay, we've got bills, we've got saving, we've got spending. This is a really big step, you guys. Like, you get through this, you're golden. So you're gonna add up each of those columns, okay? You're gonna add up those amounts. That'll tell you how much of your money is going towards bills each month, how much is going towards saving, how much is going towards spending. And then you can probably guess what's next. We're gonna add up the three of those, because that, my friends, is your third sticky note. If that's the way, it's kind of like how I'm visualizing it. Got your goals on one sticky note, you've got your money in total on another sticky note, your money out total is gonna be on the third one. Oh, and look at that. I just had to put those sticky notes in. Couldn't help myself. So this is where we are. Hopefully you guys can follow this process and get to this point. You've got your money in, you've got your money out. We're always thinking about why? Why am I doing this, right? Why do I care? Well, it's because I have goals that I want to meet. I want to reach this financial future that I have in mind. So let's take a look. We said easy and empowered budgeting in 4 simple steps. We did our vision. We talked about money in. We calculated money going out. And here we are at giving your money a job, giving every dollar a job. At this point, we are looking at a couple different scenarios. There's a little bit of math we're gonna do, pretty simple math, not to worry. We're gonna take the money in, total number. We're gonna subtract the money out, total number. And if that comes to 0, you are on a 0 balance budget. And that's kind of the strategy that I'm teaching here today, a 0 balance or a 0 based budget. If your money in minus your money out equals 0, that means you are on your way. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to make any adjustments, but you are on your way to a 0 balance budget. And that also doesn't mean like you're spending every single dollar you have, but it means that every single dollar has a job. Maybe a couple dollars, their job is to sit in the checking account until that automatic payment pulls for your mortgage. Maybe some of your dollars, their job is to, be transferred to savings, saving up for a gift for a friend. Maybe some of your other dollars, their job is, I don't know, to have fun. You're spending money, right? There will still be spending money with this plan. So anyway, let's keep going. If your money in minus money out is 0, you're at a 0 balance budget. I want to share, so if you do money in minus money out and you have money left over, we're going to give those dollars a job. They don't need to just sit there as extra, right? If we allocate them and give them every single dollar a purpose in your life towards your goals, you're going to be a lot closer to those goals than you would be otherwise. We talked about if you've reached that 0 point, but that doesn't necessarily mean your money is doing exactly what you want it to. I'll show you guys an example of Alejandro's budget next. So we might still move some dollars around if you have this 0, but it is a good place to start. If you are currently at a negative number, when you take money in minus money out, that means that you're currently spending more than you make each month or more than you're bringing in. So what we'll do is we'll look at ways to maybe increase your income or decrease those bills and savings and spending. We can adjust those numbers. And what's really nice is that after this virtual event, you guys are going to get our budgeting bundle. I think I mentioned it already. There's some infographics in there that show you Arizona average living costs for a 2-person household, 4-person household. And there's also a completely customizable Excel spreadsheet for budgeting that follows the process that I went through here with, all the steps we went through, the money out being broken into bills, saving, and spending. The spreadsheet aligns with that really nicely. So hopefully you will make use of that. But let's take a look at Alejandro's example. There's a lot to see here, but we always start with what are his goals? What's his vision? Because if we don't know what he wants, we don't know how to help him adjust his budget, right? So his financial vision is to pay off his student loan debt. Word, Alejandro. And save up for a big vacation he wants to take in a few years. So here's his information on the side. I know it's kind of small, so I'll just summarize it for you. He's got some money coming in. He's working right now currently as paycheck, 2 paychecks a month. Yours might be different, by the way. You might not get 2 paychecks a month. Just keep in mind, it's whatever comes in over the course of 1 month. He also put in, because he does dog walking on the side, he makes about $200 a month on average for that. And he rents one of the rooms in his house, just a couple of days a month, but he does put that income in here as well. So Alejandro's money in, his amount is $35.50, okay? Just keep that number kind of in your head. And if you look down here at the bottom, I've kind of broken his up a little bit more so you could see, you know, he has to buy food, utilities, shelter, transportation, those 4 walls that we talked about earlier. And then additional bills for him is his student loan payment, and that's $300 a month right now. So those are his bills. He's putting $20 towards savings currently. And then after we account for all those bills, and after we look at the savings amount, that spending is $900. All right, so that's where he is. If you add up all of the money out, bills, saving, and spending, it comes to $37.20. So of those 3 scenarios that we looked at before, which one is he in? Well, money in minus money out, it's negative. So what we have to do is make some adjustments to first get that number up to 0, and then make sure that every single dollar is doing what he wants it to do. So you can ask yourself 2 questions. How can I up my income? How can I lower my expenses or my money out? So he takes a closer look, finds he can do some extra dog walking, increases income a little bit. He can save on utilities by finally programming his smart thermostat. Maybe, he always does takeout for lunch. So he decided he's gonna pack a lunch at least, 4 days a week. And then he loves to get sushi takeout like twice a week. So he's gonna limit that to twice per month. So think about what that's gonna adjust. That's gonna adjust a little bit of his income. He's gonna save a little bit on utilities here, and then he's cutting down on his spending, right? This is going to give him $300 of wiggle room. And if we bring that total and we do that total again with those new numbers, his new money in minus money out is $130. So now he's got $130 to give a job to. He decides to put $30 towards his student loan payment to kind of chip away at that faster. And then he puts $100 into his savings. So that's a big difference for Alejandro. And that action that he took at the end, that is following with what his goals are and what his vision is for himself and his money. So I'm a broken record. I talked about these steps so many times today, but try to keep in mind if you are doing this on your own within the next couple of days, maybe you're sitting with your family and working through this, set your financial vision, talk about what that is. Think about what it would feel like to be there, get excited about it. Calculate the money coming in. Assess what money is going out. That's step 3. And then finally, give every dollar a job. So if you're ready to start, these are just a couple of things I recommend you have on hand. I mentioned them throughout our presentation today. So if you are ready to start, you'll want to grab some sticky notes, highlighters. Of course, you can do it differently. That's just my personal preference. Having all those statements is going to be really helpful, transaction history, and then make sure you grab our budgeting bundle. I think that will help you a lot as you look to take on budgeting. So now is our time for questions. I'm going to jump over and see if we have any questions. If you have any and you have not asked them yet, I'm going to have you go ahead and type those in for me. And I'm going to just hold here for a few more minutes to see if anyone else has questions they want to send in. Doesn't look like we have any so far. I do want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. And I will hang out for a little bit here. If you have any questions and you want to send those over via the Q&A box. And please make sure you will see the budgeting bundle. It's in a separate browser window, like kind of how you signed in to Zoom today. You should see our survey for today's virtual event, as well as the budgeting bundle that I mentioned a few times. Make sure you grab your copies of that. If somehow you missed that page, that page that pops up at the end, if somehow you missed that, we will be sending you a follow-up email, and this recording will be available for you. Probably at some point later this week, we will send that out as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for our virtual event. I am Christina Credit with Copper State Credit Union, and I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe out there.